Hi, I'm Amy Obst, and I'm the editor of Outreach NC, Aging Outreach Services monthly publication, and welcome to All Things Aging. Today we're talking to Reverend Greg Lundberg, who has had a lot of experience in different roles in your work and service, but one of them is with senior adults.
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about how you, your history and how you came to work with seniors.
Well, throughout my career, the majority of my work has been involved in music ministry. And of course, I've had other things involved in my ministry career, youth ministry, and most recently, senior adult ministry here at First Baptist in Southern Pines. And I think I started becoming more aware of the need for ministry to seniors when my wife was the director of activities in a senior living facility. And gradually, it became apparent to me that this was something that was of interest to me. And doors opened, and I accepted the opportunity to come here and work with seniors. And it's been very nice, good experience.
Has it been different from the other roles?
Yes. I think one of the things about senior ministry is that it takes a good deal of time to really do it well, to spend time, meaningful time with people and really listen and to be active and present with them. And the role as a senior adult minister and a music minister are not, they're kind of dissimilar. Music ministry has a lot of components to it that are really demanding. And so the two together could really be a challenge. And so.
Did you ever feel torn?
Torn?
Torn in terms of time and how to, yeah.
Every day.
Every day?
Every day, yeah.
Well, I've got a couple questions that I'm going to kind of rapid fire at you.
Okay.
Because we've been focusing a lot in the newsletter on the spiritual health and wellness. When you look at the 8 areas of wellness, I think that the spiritual area sometimes is overlooked or taken for granted. If we were raised in the church or whatever our background was, we sort of go with that. And it changes and develops like any other area. So we've been focusing on that. You and I have talked about it before.
Right.
So what are some of the most common concerns or questions that you hear from older adults in terms of their spiritual health and wellness?
You know, there are a number of them. And I don't know if they're in any particular order, but staying connected with other people is a big concern. And there are times and circumstances where, because of health issues with a spouse or health concerns on the part of the individual themselves, where there isn't the opportunity to really connect in a meaningful way with others. And that's a really, really big need for people to have a social network. And so I hear that quite a bit, that there is a need for that. I think also the need for meaningful prayer and meaningful reading, sacred reading, scripture. And certainly people can do that by themselves, but it's nice to be able to do that in a group too, and to share their stories with each other, pray for each other, read scripture and sacred texts together. That's another area that is of a spiritual concern, I think, to many seniors. Staying active is, I think, a challenge for some. But if you can stay active, I think that's a really, really helpful thing. to get out in the sunshine, to be moving around. Those kinds of activities are great for body and soul. Um, Serving others and helping other people, taking our eyes off from ourselves and looking to be productive and to contribute to the community or to the needs of others, volunteering at church. Um, Spiritual concerns. Let's see. I think practicing gratitude and thanksgiving does a lot to kind of change our focus and direct our attentions in ways that can be helpful to our souls. Those are a few of the things that I've bumped into. In fact, we just had lunch with some older senior adult ladies today. It was interesting, the things that came up in conversation, just naturally. I didn't have to ask any questions. People just naturally, share their stories, and their concerns. It was quite meaningful to get to know these ladies. It was a lot of fun.
What do you see as kind of the themes of the evolution of faith as we age?
The themes. What do you mean by that?
Do you see any common patterns in terms of how people's spirituality evolves as they age? Does it get deeper? Do they question it more? Are they comforted more by it? Or are people, I guess I wonder if in these busy years, when you're raising kids and you're working and everything, it's easy to let that fall to the wayside. Do people find that they need it more than they thought as they age? Does it develop differently?
Well, I think that, yes, I think they find that they need it more than they ever suspected. And, as we're in our careers and busy and the tyranny of the immediate is always present, one of the things that I think people, as they age and as they, get out of the workforce, they do have more time to, in fact, I've been enjoying that, just the opportunity to read more deeply, to pray more earnestly, and to pray for others, and have real time to sit and concentrate on that. I mean, that's been really, really meaningful. And so I think, yes, people do find more value in that, partly because I think once they discover they have more time for it, then they realize, oh, wow, this is really something I've been missing. And I really love this. I love to be able to do this and to pray for others and to be, concerned for others. And so I think it naturally deepens. Of course, it's going to be different for everyone in their own way, how it's going to deepen. But I think it does get richer and more meaningful.
What I hear you saying is it's not necessarily that people have dismissed spirituality, it's that they've been distracted by life.
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. Because the pace of our lives just doesn't allow many times for meaningful reflection. And, meaningful downtime. We're so programmed to be, busy. What was that statement? Busyness isn't of the devil, busyness is the devil. And it takes some of our best energy and focuses it in areas that may not be all that important, but they're important to get through that particular day.
So you're seeing a little bit more intention when there's time.
Yeah. That was a lot of the conversation I heard over lunch today, how meaningful it was for these four lovely ladies. They were talking about things that were of concern to them. And they commented how meaningful it was to have close-knit friends that they could depend on, that would listen to them, that they could study the Bible with, that they could pray with, that they could just take whatever concern they had to them and know that they would be heard. And their it was just a lovely group of friends, and it was just beautiful just to see how they were formed spiritually and how rich it was just to listen to their stories. And they all had dark times to live through, the loss of a spouse or the loss of a child or distant family, not able to connect, as often. There's so many different beautiful things to be seen in those relationships, and how God was working in their lives and sustaining their faith. It was very beautiful.
I think there's something very soothing and hope-giving about not being alone.
About what?
Not being alone. Whether it's physically being in space with people or having that connection spiritually to something beyond yourself.
Yeah.
That aloneness is what I see as a counselor is really the root of a lot of unhappiness.
I think you're exactly right. Because being alone, being lonely, maybe not connected. I mean, maybe people don't always want to be connected. They may not see the need for it, but they really do need it. And I think that can lead into other areas, melancholy, depression, those kinds of things that really are an issue.
And what I hear from the conversation with these women is it's not necessarily having friends and going out. It's that meaningful connection of feeling seen and heard and understood and cared for.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I think we try to fill that with busy types of connection.
Yeah.
I've done this, I've gone here, I've been out today, but it isn't meaningful.
Right. And to really be present with people and really, really listen and hear, that's something that takes time. Real time that's been set aside where you're unhurried. You can really focus and drill down into the real meaningful and deep concerns that are there for people. Life is changing. It's changing around them, and sometimes, it's not easy to keep up, and it's going to change anyway. And we have to reconcile that fact. And so, what does the future look like? How are you dealing with it? What does this mean to you? They're all real huge questions.
What are we missing, I guess, as a community as a whole, about the spiritual needs of seniors? Or are we missing anything?
Well, we've touched on some of them, I think. Certainly the connection piece, about keeping people connected in a small group or in a church setting, a social setting. I think that's more important than we realize. Some people naturally gravitate toward that and are very social people. Other people may find it easy to be alone, but then if you do, you can find yourself kind of cut off. And that's probably not such a good place to be. Some of the other things that we're missing, this is going to sound maybe a little bit random, but I think technology is something that is a concern to seniors who may not understand it, but who need it this day and age. And there are some things you just can't do on your phones. Many things you can, but it can be daunting
Mm-hmm.
to keep up with it.
Right.
I feel like I'm fairly savvy technologically, but sometimes I'm running to catch up too.
Me too. And I
And I,
resent having to do it.
right.
I'm like, can't we just leave it here? I don't want an update. I don't want another thing to learn.
Yeah,
I
I'm just happy the way it is right now. Just don't change
yes,
anything.
yes.
Just don't change anything else. And the piece about actively listening,
Mm-hmm.
that's a big piece. I find myself uh, wishing I could have done more real active, being present, listening, really taking the time. And that's the thing.
Right.
It takes real time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
it takes a little bit of consistency. People don't open up right away.
no,
So it's time over time.
Yeah, that's just it. You know, because people's stories, they're not Facebook posts.
Right.
You know, there's a long winding road through a lot of this, and it takes time to, you know, hear those meaningful stories or losses, and how they have been able to work through that. And like some of the conversation today, I mean, losses, you know, of a child, you know, 30, 40 years ago.
Wow.
And how present that those feelings still are, you know. It's remarkable. People are remarkable. You know, if you listen to them long enough, there's so much to be learned. That's one of the things that we miss, is the wisdom of, you know, people that may be a little bit older than we are, that have had life experiences that are important, you know, just to hear, you know, the wisdom from the generation, you know, before you.
And there's something very soothing about talking to somebody who's been through it.
Yeah.
They have a kind of calmness.
Right.
You're going to get through this. We've been through this.
Well, that's exactly right. You know, because they've seen that. They've seen the arc of you know, trouble and circumstances, and they've been able to negotiate that and manage that. And, you know, we can benefit from that too.
I love having kids because they're young and they keep me updated on the young stuff.
Yeah.
And I love spending time with people older than myself because I feel like I can kind of go back and forth in between those, and it gives me some balance.
That's a good place to be. You've got the past and the future in both hands.
Yeah. It's tempting to want only the people with whom you share sort of close proximity. That's very comfortable. But speaking with older people really gives me perspective.
Right.
And speaking with younger people reminds me of really hopefulness. Sometimes I can be, you know, negative. Oh, don't worry, capitalism will haunt you someday or something like that. And you have to remember that for young people, that's not very hopeful. So it kind of keeps me out of that cynical side.
Yeah, certainly.
What role do you think spiritual care plays at the end of life?
Well, certainly it's in this transition, you know, we're coming back to some of the things we've mentioned before, but being present and being quiet, and not feeling the need to have to say a lot. Sometimes all you need to do is be there. And I think we've all been in that circumstance, a funeral or some kind of a serious illness, or and someone will feel the need to say something notable or significant. And I've messed up more often than I've said meaningful things in moments like that. And after a while, I learned that, you know what, it's just okay to be quiet and just be there and give somebody a hug and an affirmation. And so at the end of life, certainly that's one of the main things, I think. And let's see, just being connected
So
and
this all kind
being
of comes
affirming, you know,
right.
and part of this um, leads to hope.
Even in the end.
Yeah, I think so.
I think perhaps most in the end is when we need hope the most.
Right. Exactly.
If you could share one message of hope or perspective from your work with seniors, what would it be?
Spend meaningful time. Take time. Um, you know, because it's in the sharing of life's stories that real relationships are formed. And, you know, I can think of so many days that, you know, I really didn't have the time to do it, and maybe I didn't do it, or maybe I did. But the times that I really was able to do that and be present and really listen, those are moments that matter. And take the time; it's worth it, I think.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
This has been enjoyable. Thank you.
yeah.